Welcome, welcome everyone. This is Sin Malditas Excusas, but today we are broadcasting in English. And this is the first time that I'm doing this because we have an, an expert, a great guest. And to remember everyone why why we do this, you know that most of the times you wonder how difficult it is to succeed in life. What are the obstacles? And, and sometimes we just need to look ahead and ask these kind of people that have succeeded in life and try to wonder what they have done, how they have done it. And that's the reason that we have today our good friend, Eric Patel. Eric, how are you, my friend?
Thanks very much for having me, Rodrigo. Glad to be here.
Cool, cool. So, um, before starting, I just want to remember to everyone that this show is sponsored by OpenEXO, the global transformation ecosystem whose purpose is to transform the world for a better future. I cordially invite you to transform the world together. So, Eric, I didn't introduce you, so I'm going to read some of the experiences that you have. Eric serves as the Chief Innovation Officer at BostonExO, New England's first exponential organization, incubator which helps companies and individuals thrive. They leverage exponential technologies along with an abundance mindset to help individuals led organizations that stay in businesses, disrupt their industry, and achieve exponential valuation. Their massive transformative purpose is global exponential mindset transformation. Eric holds certifications in Q&A, project management, innovation, agile, scrum, and EXO. He's the founder of innovation initiatives at Staples, Perkin, Elmer, and Binx Health. Eric is a project coordinator for OpenEXO, a member of the OpenEXO economy and treasury teams, and serves on the board of Suego Entrepreneur Support Organizations and Exponential. He has contributed to New Purpose Launchpad, serves as an advisor and organizer for Purpose Alliance challenges, and as a Purpose Launchpad mentor for Purpose Evolver. Eric is also an ambassador for OpenEXO, Purpose Alliance, and Rutanio. Oh my God, you have achieved so much, Eric. Um, and quite recently, he's working in a great project that it's called Exponential Individuals. So we're going to talk to him about all of these things. Eric, from Boston, how is everything going on your side?
Great. It's going really good. Thanks so much again for having me, Rodrigo. It's great to be here and congratulations on the podcast.
Cool, cool. So let's start. Can you please tell us, Eric, how did you get to know OpenEXO? How did you arrive to that space? Uh, what's the story there?
I think, like many people, we are into this mode of growth and learning and experimentation. And I think
Hmm.
the thing that drew me first was the book, of course, right? We call it the Bible, the Exponential Organizations book by Salim Ismail. And so I read that, and like so many other people, decided to increase my education, got certified with EXI foundations. And then from there, things changed, I think, especially in 2020, like so many of us, due to the pandemic and other circumstances. I found myself with an opportunity to start yet again another entrepreneurial venture, and that kind of birthed Boston EXO. We launched our internship during that summer, and that calendar year, I kind of finished out all of the EXO certifications: ambassador, trainer, consultant, and sprint coach, and kind of went all in, including helping open EXO out as a project coordinator. As you know, Rodrigo, right, we're trying to bring the Exos token to the marketplace, hopefully later this year.
Correct, correct. And you were working for a company when you start with your journey in OpenEXO, or you were independent?
I was actually, yeah, like so many of us, right? Sort of happily working a full-time job. And at the time when things broke in the late winter of 2020, my company was having issues getting financing, next round of financing. And they decided to make some hard decisions by letting go not only their USA employees, most of them, as well as their UK office. And, again, I've sort of found myself saying, now what? And that really
Yeah.
kind of spurred me to rekindle my entrepreneurial roots and pull together a team. And, here it's now almost 2 years later and we're still going.
Nice, nice, very good. So, Eric, how do you explain your kids what do you do for a living nowadays?
That's a great question. I'm sort of, do you remember that movie from, I think it was the 1980s with Chevy Chase, and it was called
Okay.
Fletch. And
All
I'll
right.
never forget the movie poster has him opening his wallet and he has all these different ID cards of him
Yeah.
in different roles. That's kind of who I am. I have my hand in so many different pies, so many different opportunities. But I think, Rodrigo, if I were to sort of simplify it, I would definitely say an entrepreneur, right? A small businessman and one who's very passionate about a number of things in this world, especially during now in these times, and really just fortunate to be able to be connected to various communities like OpenEXO and just the amazing number of people whom I've met from around the world, including yourself.
Excellent, excellent. And in terms of when you were studying your bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, did you imagine yourself working in innovation environment?
Not at all. I think I was just trying to get through college like so many of us. And as I think some of you may know, engineering is pretty challenging, especially electrical engineering. And I remember at the time with some of my fellow classmates, we had a motto called cooperate to graduate. And we pretty much did that. So early, forms of collaboration and teamwork and, just trying to get the job done. But innovation really didn't come, Rodrigo, until many years later. And you'd mentioned Staples Lean Startup, and that's probably my signature contribution at the corporate level. I was given free range to basically run and manage an internal innovation program at Staples. It's a US based office supply retailer, and just an amazing adventure, ground roots, grassroots, employees right from the Staples mothership in Framingham, Massachusetts, here in the States. And, pulled together a team. We worked on business model canvases. We worked on ideas for Staples, primarily back to school programs. As a matter of fact, I'll sort of fast forward through the program. Four of us were presenting at a senior vice president's office one afternoon, this idea that we were trying to incubate. He was quiet for about 4 or 5 minutes when we did the pitch. And at the end of it, he said, Amazon tried this last year and failed. And
Wow.
then he said, but I like what you guys have come up with, and I think it's going to work. So we were rather excited with that. But it was just an amazing experience with that particular corporate innovation internal effort.
And that is something that actually caught you the attention, like attracted you to be part of an environment of innovation, or what was it?
It certainly was, and I think the landmark book from Strategizer,
Okay.
Business Model Generation, and a lot of their subsequent books as well really inspired me to rethink things like writing a business plan, getting out of the office, getting data, talking to customers. Even with their third book, which is my favorite, Testing Business Ideas, running both discovery and validation experiments so that should you persevere, should you pivot and make a change, or just junk it. You no longer have to write a multi-100-page business plan, get financing, and hope for the best. In the States, we still have a metric today of even after 4 years in business, more than half of businesses still fail. So you have to ask why. And part of what we do at BostonExO Labs is to try to, change those numbers in the entrepreneur's successful favor. And we love the idea of experimentation and making changes so that you can pivot and make changes throughout and not have kind of the big bang and hope it works theory.
Yeah, totally. Fail fast and quick, as they say. And in terms of, if you compare your all of the duration of your work in big companies and now working with startups, well, what are the main differences that you can tell that you like the most, probably?
You know, there's a lot of comfort and security in general with bigger companies, right? They have the finances, they have the people, they have the resources. Startups are almost the complete opposite, right? It's a complete struggle until you hit some sort of plateau or success factor. I found that I've worked well in both environments, right? I've worked for large, medium, small companies, startups, established companies, but my favorite is definitely the entrepreneurial startup mode. And you know, it's the innovation you talked about. I think a lot of established companies are married to their cash cow. What is the current business model today? It's working. Don't rock the boat. Don't tip the cow over. And they also need to be thinking about the future. I always say, unless you're the drum cymbal company Zildjian and you've been making drum cymbals for 400 years, your business model is going to change. And if not,
Totally.
and you're reactive and not proactive, you may go the way of companies like Polaroid, Blockbuster, and so many, right? At BostonExO, we have a motto: disrupt or be disrupted. Sooner or
That's right.
later, you will have to keep up with the times.
Yeah, totally correct. So let's talk about what what is been intriguing me. I mean, I know about your startups and what you have done. These recent projects that you have, Boston EXO, and quite recently Exponential Individuals. Why don't you tell us first about Boston EXO, and then we can talk about Exponential Individuals? What is
Sure.
Boston EXO? Please tell us.
Sure. So we were inspired, of course, by the Exponential Organizations book, and we consciously chose the EXO as part of our company name and the New England, Boston-based geographical region. We still have that name today. And really, we were going to help companies, and still do to this day, with a lot of the products and services that you would find in exponential organizations, namely, how do you become an exponential organization? OpenEXO has declared the 2020s the decade of the EXO. Boston EXO ourselves is an exponential organization. Beyond that, in the second book, Exponential Transformation, how do you run a multi-week problem-solving, brainstorming innovation effort? The EXO sprint and all those products and services that come with that, right? Helping organizations and companies transform. Again, to not go to the way of the dinosaur, to stay competitive, to stay in business, to think about edge teams, disruptive innovation, and really thinking about the future. Beyond that, due to our love and passion for entrepreneurships and startup companies and co-founders, we formed Boston EXO Labs to help small businesses thrive, especially under these very difficult conditions these days. And if that wasn't enough, we also put together a program for people, for the individuals themselves. And that's through our best-selling Regen 365 workshop series, as well as you mentioned a few minutes ago, our new collaboration with OpenEXO, Exponential Individuals.
And you mentioned that you have worked with companies and now with people. Uh, about those, which one do you like the most and why?
I think we feel that it starts really with the person at the individual level. And, you know, making sure you put your oxygen mask on first and that you do a good job with yourself, taking care of yourself so you could bring your A game and your best strategies and your mindset every day to the workplace, to your family, to your community. Then from there, teams, small groups, right? With everybody sort of revved up and contributing to a team, and finally at the company organizational level. So I think my preference is certainly for the individual and making sure that they're firing on all cylinders.
Okay, cool. So who can be part of BostonExO? For whom you have created this?
It's really for organizations, right? And we help them through BostonExO, through our EXO services. It's also for smaller teams, startup companies, founders, through BostonExO Labs. And then individually, whether you're associated with an organization or an entity or not, Regen 365 and EXI, again, helping the individual thrive so that they can make contributions wherever they are in whatever communities they play in.
All right. So if you can tell us, please, I'm quite intrigued always about how did you actually start this kind of startup company? Um, do you mentioned that you have some sort of start working with an entrepreneurial mode, but with that said, it's a bootstrapping. You have some amount of money that you start with that. Other partners. How was it? How was the start? Can you tell us about that, please?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in thinking back on some of the other companies I formed over the years, it's been very different, right? So you sort of learn techniques and practices and that you kind of bring to the table. So the next time you start something like this, which is what I did a couple of years ago through Boston EXO, you bring all that with you. So I've always been thinking about it as simple, minimum investment, whatever it takes to get going, almost like a minimum viable product, right? An MVP, so a minimum viable company, right? So what does that mean? We decided to incorporate here in the United States, and we did go with a limited liability company, an LLC. And I think one of the cool things about that particular business structure is that everybody who's a member of, let's say, the BostonExO core team, and we have 8 total today, they're all actually co-founders, right? So they get to participate in voting and profit sharing, and really this has always been my philosophy with core teams as well as companies, is basically just sharing the wealth, sharing the fun as well. So we went with that. And again, most of the things we offer are services. We have some products, right? So it's a little easier. There's a little less investment. There isn't so much of a life cycle in terms of, let's say, if you were a biomedical company that's pretty popular here in the Boston, Cambridge area, and you have a medical device, and you have a lot of regulations and laws and long time frames and investments and things like that. So really, depending on what you're interested in, and there are lots of great resources to do this from an entrepreneurial perspective, you can really get started with little to no money down. You can build your team out, as our team has been built out internationally. We've also formed an advisory board, and you probably should do that as well, as there's a lot of great advice that you'll need along your journey, and to make sure you ask for and get the help you need. And lastly, as part of the Boston EXO ecosystem, are our partners, again, from around the world, who we sort of do joint business and projects with. So between those tiers of people, including almost a benched team of consultants who we will tap beyond the core team when projects come up before we even go to the EXO, open EXO marketplace. So we have, again, people that are sort of staff on demand, right? From one of the EXO attributes. So we can tap people as needed based on the projects that come in.
And now that you have mentioned that you have started a company with LLC, well, can you tell us? I mean, for people that is not probably on the United States, what is the first down payment that you have to perform to do this? I mean, we are seeing that a lot of companies that are created in Latin America, when they need an investment, most of the people tell them that they go to found the company or start a company in the States. So if you can tell us about a little bit about that. And probably the second question will be, how do you create, or how do you choose what members should be part of your project?
Great question. So again, depending on what sort of an entity, a business that you decide to form, I mean, typically those of us who are here in the States will go with either an S Corp, a C Corp, a partnership. Some people start out just by themselves as a sole proprietorship, right? So some of it's just how you want to be structured, taxes, and a few other things. Again, we really like the benefits of an LLC, Now, even beyond that, right, in the Web 3.0 world, there are additional options beyond what we've already discussed. And so, cost-wise, depending on what you do in the United States, usually you will incorporate in a state. A lot of people like the state of Delaware. We're in the Boston area, so we decided to go with the state of Massachusetts. There's a yearly filing fee, which really isn't that much at all. And then beyond that, just making sure you take care of the doing business as, or DBA, and usually you take care of that in your local town. There are a few other startup charges, but again, it's really not too involved. And again, depending on your initial investment, BostonExO was, of course, self-funded, and it still is today. And, we're making money and we're making a profit. But it is nice to be able to have some funds at your disposal as well. And again, going back to the Web 3.0 comment, a lot of companies are also considering, especially if you're in the blockchain, crypto, token space, is maybe to form something different called a distributed autonomous organization, or DAO. As a matter of fact, I believe it's the state of Wyoming here in the United States that allows you to incorporate as a DAO LLC. I believe they're the first ones to do that, and that was last year. So that's an option for some entities as well.
Okay, cool. And in terms of the team, how do you choose the right people to be in your project?
That's a great question. We've decided to go with a core team of people that are effectively contractors within BostonExO, employees, quote unquote, if you like, and that are with us pretty much all the time. And part of the benefits are, of course, they have internal communications. I talked about a lot of the benefits, like with the profit sharing and voting and things like that, sort of native to the LLC. And then based on the projects that come in, again, we typically will tap the core team and making sure that they're available, that they're qualified, and we work out what the rate is. And then if we need additional help, we'll go to our bench, the consultants, right, as part of our ecosystem. And then, of course, we will go beyond that to our partners, maybe even advisory board members, before we go to a larger community like OpenEXO and tap people, for certain qualifications. But we really try to start internal first, and then we sort of look external beyond that.
Perfect. So can we now talk about exponential individuals? I want to know what it is, how can people get part of it, what is the value proposition that you see that people is going to obtain when they participate, and how you can participate, and please tell me everything.
Sure. So it really just started, Rodrigo, with a simple question that was asked: how does the Exponential Organizations book apply to individuals? So we decided to go with the same nomenclature. And, currently the working title is Exponential Individuals, or EXI. And so thinking about the Exponential Organizations book for companies and how they found, among other things, aside from leveraging, of course, exponential technologies, people that are in companies that are in this space will tap abundance and manage it, right? As you know, between kind of like looking at the EXO canvas and the scale attributes and the ideas attributes, we wanted to sort of apply that to the individual, right? So what does somebody who is exponential look like and feel like? And we put together a team of people that are still meeting to this day. As a matter of fact, we just celebrated our 1-year birthday. And we're putting together, among other things, a playbook of sorts where people can live their best lives. And we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just all left-brained stuff, high performance, high productivity, external success, but also right-brained, internal, fulfillment, consciousness, contribution, service. Because we all know people that seem successful on the outside, but are quite the opposite on the inside. And we didn't want that as part of our EXI definition. And so beyond that, we are looking to put together an opportunity for people to test out, speaking of business ideas testing, our EXI playbook this summer in an EXI sprint. Give us feedback on the playbook, read through it, go through the exercise, start your very dedicated, very disciplined and focused personal transformation journey. And you'd be surprised what you'd be able to get through in 6 to 8 weeks or so to really kickstart your ongoing EXI journey and to make yourself better and smarter and stronger and more wholesome and fulfilled than perhaps you ever thought you would. And I think once you've started this momentum and trajectory, it now becomes part of your DNA and you kind of continue that, right? We have all of our core team members as part of EXI that they themselves are exponential individuals. So it's been very exciting to watch over the last 12 plus months.
If right now someone is watching this and said, Eric, I want to be part of Exponential Individuals, where that person needs to go, how he can get on, contact you, or I don't know, how people can get part of this movement. Do you call it a movement or not yet?
So, originally this was an initiative, a project, if you will. And I believe we will be transforming ourselves as an entity and formalizing things, including becoming perhaps a DAO ourselves, perhaps issuing our own token. And the way to really get connected is simply just visit our website, exponentialindividuals.io. Contact any of the co-organizers, Ann Bathello, Kevin Allen, myself, and join us. It's open. We need people of different backgrounds and ages and countries. Currently, I believe we have representatives in about 15 different countries. We have over 35 people that are pretty consistent as part of our core team, and everybody's been working a lot on the playbook to get that ready for our EXI sprint this summer.
Okay, cool. I'm trying to put the link of the web page. So is it theexponentialindividual.com or it has changed?
I believe if you go there, that should redirect you to the new site, which is just simply exponentialindividuals.io.
Right. Let me see if we can put it on the chat. And you mentioned, while this thing load, you mentioned something, the first sprint, when people can interact with this, when is it going to be?
We're targeting to finish an updated version of the EXI playbook ready to be used, implemented, and feedback ready before the start of our first EXI sprint, which is currently targeting this summer, June 2020. And folks will be able to sign up on our website and get registered and help us, give us feedback on the playbook, grow as an individual, and perhaps use what they've learned to sort of benefit their families, their company, or their community.
Nice. We have, hi, Angelo. I have here the web page. Just give me a second because we are live. So here's the web page. You can go onto that web page and found more information regarding exponential individuals. Is there anything else regarding exponential individuals that you want to tell people?
Sure. I mean, we feel that this is for everyone, and we don't want to become another self-help, personal development, personal success program. There are lots of other great ones out there. We really want to try to carve our own niche with people who are sort of conscious creators that really want to give back and serve and ultimately make this planet a better place. And so we are looking for some people to kind of step up and really join a program that we feel is super unique, that is not only going to benefit you, but again, the communities you play in, the company you work for, the family unit you have, where you can bring your best, your A game every day, where you put your oxygen mask on first, and you really can make a difference. And you are making a difference, and you feel it, and you see it, people recognize it. And whether it's a 2x, 3x, 5x, or 10x fold, I mean, the US Navy SEALs talk about a 20x improvement. So I figure if you get, some fraction thereof, that's you're in really good shape, right? But yeah, no, we're happy to have anybody join us really at any point in time. Our calls are usually once a week over a Zoom video chat on Fridays. And then we have different sub teams that have been formed, including for the sprint, for the playbook, the website, of course, and a gamification effort that's underway. We'll be using some of the elements from the Octalysis gaming framework. And we're looking at putting together some platform, some app, some tool that people can use in conjunction with the playbook and other resources, because we don't want to be prescriptive. We want to basically give people multiple different pathways to choose on their own personal journey to become exponential. But we're really excited about that gamification effort as well.
Sounds amazing, Eric. And I believe that a lot of people probably is wondering what they can do, and I guess that they are going to get to know them better when they start this journey with exponential individuals. So let's jump onto our second topic, that it's called trigger questions. So first of all, what is your MTP, massive transformative purpose?
Sure. My MTP is global personal excellence empowerment. And what I mean by that is, an MTP, as you know, Rodrigo, right, is kind of what you want to see the world 20, 30 years from now, right? It's sort of like that transformation circa 2050 or so, which is a long time away, of course. So with the different things that are underway currently, and I'm sure in the future, being able to get people out of an autopilot cruise control zombie mode to take control on an ongoing basis of their lives, business and personal, their careers, their involvement in whatever they're involved in, and to really commit to becoming better, right? This ongoing journey of knowing better, doing better, not only for themselves, but for others. And I think that's kind of built into the MTP.
Love it. So do you like to read?
I do.
What kind of books are you reading right now?
I've been a longtime fan of nonfiction books, in
All right.
particular business-related books, and I'm close to finishing Jim Quick's latest one called Limitless. So all
Cool.
within this theme of being unstoppable and being exponential, and it's a great, easy read of not only just memory speed reading kind of things, but also other important things like purpose, motivation. And it's a great collection of really non-difficult things that you can do to incorporate as habits so that you can feel like you can remember people's names and that you can not have low energy levels every day and that you can feel you are trying to do your best work every day.
Have you learned to read fast or not yet?
He talks about that in the book. Years ago, I think, like many of us, I took a speed reading course. And I think, how many things in life are, it's use it or lose it. And I think at the time I used it and then I pretty much didn't use it. So I would like to get back into that. It's true. Like we're taught a certain way to read, especially here in the States. And among other things, you really don't actually have to read every word or even look at every word. So yeah, I'm looking forward to increasing my reading rate for sure.
Excellent, excellent. Do you think that you are living the life of your dreams?
I think I'm on my way. I think there's a lot to be thankful for. I mean, I know we all have different visions of what we would like, and a lot of that is external, right? It's all those traditional success indicators and metrics, and some of them are kind of vanity metrics, if you will. But I can tell you, Rodrigo, I'm a lot closer to that than what I was even pre-pandemic. And
That's
despite
great.
the very difficult time that many of us have had and still are having, from a personal standpoint, from a business standpoint, there's a lot to be thankful for. And I feel that certain things are definitely thriving. And I have a lot of people to thank for that.
Very good for you. So What makes you happy in life?
I would say two things primarily. One would be people in my life. And, I will always cite, the many folks from around the world who I met because of the pandemic, because of BostonExO, because of EXI, because of OpenEXO, and Zoom and WhatsApp and Telegram and Signal and, all these other tools. When years ago I heard it, I was like, well, what's the big deal about that? And now, right? The ability to just communicate with people literally on demand is truly something that's a gift. And so for me, the people that are in my business life, my personal life, my life in general, make all the difference in the world. And then probably the second thing would be the experiences that I have and that I will have with many of them, especially now that things hopefully are getting better, they're opening up, there's travel involved, a lot of in-person time, etc. So I'm really looking forward to meeting a lot of these people who I've been talking to just virtually, literally for months now.
Yeah, that's incredible, actually. um, what have you always wanted and still can't get, if you can share it?
Other than a Ferrari, I, I would say, yeah, that's a really tough one, because, you know, I think once you trade, for example, expectations for appreciation, a lot of that stuff kind of goes away, right?
Hmm.
And I think maybe from a business perspective, I certainly would love to help more entrepreneurs, more founders, more companies, just like how we're currently doing now, to live their dreams, right? They say that if you can help people and give them what they want, then you will get whatever you want in turn, right? And we sort of see that in our business line, and even some of the coaching I'm doing, it's just so rewarding and so fulfilling. But yeah, I would certainly love to be able to say at some point, oh, that entrepreneur, that company we helped, look at them now.
Hmm. It kind of gets your heart bigger helping people.
Absolutely. That is part of my own personal mission statement as well. You asked me about my MTP, but in terms of very tactically, what I'm thinking about and doing is simply to help others thrive. And I do that three ways: through unwavering loyalty, selfless service, and lifelong friendship.
Cool. The next question that I have for you, I really like it. It is, imagine that you start your life over again, and at 8 years old, but with the knowledge that you have today, what would you do first?
At age 8.
18, sorry.
8, oh, 18. Okay, all right. So the brain's a little bit more developed. That's good. I mean, I think would continue what I did in the past, which is namely get a degree from a college or university and have at least a credential to fall back on for those times where I know I'm going to be working for somebody else, and they're going to look for things like that. And we do that, of course, as employers, right? There are certain prerequisites, and a 4-year college degree is a very common one, especially here in the States. But even beyond that, I think I would probably, among other things, to encourage my younger self to really start earlier with entrepreneurship. And I would argue I did. I had and still do really to this day, among other things, a mobile DJ service. But to really kind of think about the tools and the experiences that I now know to be able to bring to the forefront, right? And to, like you said, fail fast and to form something and to think about really what the future is going to hold and how can you make yourself as best as possible future proof, right? And whether that means trying to leverage exponential technologies a little earlier than I think I've have in my life, and to be able to kind of continue with the networking and the outreach and the relationship building so that you have an amazing network of people who are into the same kind of things you are, that are willing to help you so that you can collaborate and succeed together.
Cool. So no cryptocurrencies at all?
That's a tough one. I think, when it comes to that, I mean, that's obviously all within sort of that Web 3.0 space. And I think I have a little bit more experience with tokens, right? The Exos token, the Rootest token from Rotanio, than I do actually with crypto. But as we're quickly seeing, more and more people are getting into it. They're buying in, they're trading it. Companies are starting to accept it for products and services sold. Entire countries have adopted crypto as their country currency. Big banks from around the world are quickly moving into play so that they can accept and trade in crypto. So we know this is part of the future. So yes, if I were to go back, I'd probably look at it and see, to maybe do a little bit more early investing for sure.
Right. So you mentioned about getting a degree, but nowadays we are seeing that skills are changing. People is obtaining new skills. Technology is changing. What would you recommend to people who is still at school, but uh, they are going to have a different kind of job? What are the skills that they should go after to?
Another great question, right? So I think the default answer is look at some of these exponential technologies that are out there, right? Machine learning, artificial intelligence, VR, drones. I mean, the list is massive, right? We're all seeing that driverless cars and even inventions that we still haven't even thought about yet, right? When we did our internship in the summer of 2020 through BostonExO, we had high school and college students participate virtually from around the world. For about 10 weeks, we did have them work on kind of a exploration of exponential technologies, what they were interested in, how they would use it, how it would benefit a company. So definitely a worthwhile exercise to do. I would say definitely stay in school and finish your degree, and hopefully, to take on as very little debt as you can and pay that off as quickly as you can. But definitely there's something to be said about having something to fall back on, having multiple plans, a plan A, a plan B, working for yourself, working for somebody else. You're going to go back and forth in your career over time. Sometimes it's going to be as an employee, sometimes it's going to be as a contractor or consultant. And to be able to be really versed in all those different worlds and to have options and to be able to sort of withstand risk and change, because again, if anything's constant, it is that itself, will serve you well. And that's basically how my career has gone.
Nice. Good advice. What simple fact do you wish more people understood?
How about we become what we think about most of the time? And at least in the Western world, a lot of people need to see something before they believe it, when in fact, the opposite is true. We talked about innovation earlier. Where do you think all those ideas come from? Everything that's around you right now, wherever you are, where did those inventions come from? Somebody's head, somebody's mind, somebody's thoughts. It always begins there. So I would definitely highly encourage people to remember that you have a lot to say and do for your path, your destiny, and your own journey. And if you can manage, control, and keep your thoughts positive and constructive to serve you and others, it'll take you further than you can possibly imagine.
Another good one, Eric. Thank you for sharing that. How would you describe your future in 3 words? Only three.
Fasten your seatbelts for sure. Because like you said, right, with the rate of change, exponentiality, we're doing some cool things at the individual level. I've even seen my own abilities, potential increase beyond what I thought I could do. And I still don't even feel like I'm getting started. So I think we all have it in us already. And maybe that's one of the little big secrets, right? And it's just a question of, do you believe it? Again, going back to your thoughts. Can you tap, harness, and collect it? And can you keep it going, right, for the long haul, the maintenance, the inevitable ups and downs, right, that life and everything brings, so that you can achieve your goals, make your dreams come true, help others, and make this world a better place.
Nice. And if you want to learn more about yourself, you can go to exponentialindividuals.io. um, What have you lost interest in recently?
Hmm. I have lots of interests, so it's really hard to kind of peg something that I've sort of lost interest in. I think, maybe there's been some topics and some subjects that I have kind of, lost interest in. And trying to think if anything really comes to mind along that sense. Um, I think, I know gamification's really big. And I mentioned the Octalysis framework earlier, and I've just never been a gamer. So, a lot of people are talking about it, whether it be through contests, through community, through engagement, through apps, through, we're even trying to build this into our EXI self-coaching app. And I'm just going to leave that to other people who are more interested in it than I am. Although I have to say they did an amazing job with that Octalysis gaming framework, and I did pick up the book. So who knows? Maybe I'll regain interest into that. But yeah, for sure, it just in terms of just straight out gaming or gamification, it basically ranks low with me still to this day. So
All right, cool. What job would you never do no matter how much it paid?
maybe being a politician,
Okay.
right? I mean, even though we could certainly use some good ones worldwide. But yeah, gosh, from what I've heard and seen and people who I know who have gone through it, even though it is tempting and you'd want to at least start out doing the right thing and fulfilling your promises and all that, I'm afraid in lots of countries, especially here in the States, I think things can quickly change once you're kind of elected. They say here in the States, once you're elected, they start the very first day with your reelection campaign. So I'm not sure whether a politician would be a good career path for me, so I would probably say that one.
Okay, cool. What is the closest you have ever come to fearing for your life?
Luckily, not that close, although there was probably one or two driving episodes on the highway where either I narrowly avoided something, could have been a collision or some kind of weather related, potential accident. That, yeah, probably there was somebody or something watching over my shoulders to kind of get me through that. So, yeah, luckily nothing too harrowing, but certainly, like I mentioned, a couple of instances on the highways where I was definitely glad I was still driving.
Thank God. Next question. What life lesson did you learn the hard way?
Ooh, how much time do we have? Wow, that's a great one. There are lots that come to mind in the business world. I think in my personal life, mm, I think in business, there's all too many to learn, right? And whether you fund a business, whether you get financing, whether you buy a business or acquire a business, I'm always thinking about long term return on investment, not just from a financial perspective, right? There are lots of other aspects of that as well. And so, there was one point in the past where I actually did buy a business, ran it for a while. It was a ton of fun, but I never felt I could grow it as much as it really needed it to. So this was a kind of a training, learning, kind of a fun business. We never really brought on, I think, enough staff to help out. So I was kind of doing it a lot. And, we were trying to control the expenses and we were paying rent somewhere, which I was really never a big fan of. We sort of needed the space anyways. And I think for the investment that I made and perhaps the return that I got, I mean, we're talking about it again from a financial standpoint, not from maybe some subjective measures, which were certainly a lot higher. I don't think I really made out. And
Hmm.
so maybe if I were to go back, I maybe would have certainly done things differently, potentially, and up to including not buying the business in the first place.
Well, I mean, you now have the experience to grow two businesses that can be very big and help a lot of people. So you can balance that. Um, what would you regret not fully doing, being or having in your family? in your life? In your life.
You know, we talk a lot about purpose, and even in the EXO world, master transformative purpose, and thinking beyond the obvious tangibles and desires in life, right? The fame, money, fortune, and, you know, everything else that kind of comes along with that. And so I think, you know, everybody really needs to, at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later, is kind of figure out a bunch of questions, right? In terms of, why are you here? What motivates you? Who are you? What kind of a person do you want to become, etc.? And how do you want to leave this place, this planet, this experience, right? And so some of us need a little bit more reminders than others, that our time here is, of course, limited after all. And so what do you want people to say, for example, at your wake or funeral mass, right? What do you want on your epitaph? How does that online newspaper ad look like for the kind of life, you know, you lived? And so I think it's important to, again, at some point, kind of get clarity on some of those questions, and to start sooner than later, sort of already living and being the person you want to live to be.
Nice, really nice one. Let, I have today. I read a tweet, and I found it really really good. Let me try to read it to you. Professor, I believe is Professor Feynman, and the reminder is this: life is too short to worry about stupid things. Have fun, fall in love, regret nothing, and don't let people bring you down. Study, think, create, and grow. Teach yourself and teach others.
It's beautiful, right? I
Yeah,
mean, you know, if you were to kind of sum it up, that's as good of a quote as any, right? Recognizing that there is much more to life than
totally.
material possessions, wealth, fame, or fortune, right? I think if you can move beyond that and really get into, among other things, a giving back, volunteering, service, doing good for others mode, and that could just be people within your immediate family who need help, people within your community, people within your state or country, or other causes that really need not just financial help, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes manpower and other resources and other help, right? There's no shortage of opportunities for you to do that. So I would encourage everybody to really just find something that you're passionate about, something that gets you fired up about, and, you know, make a difference.
really good advice. I have only two questions left, Eric. What does the American dream mean to you?
So there's, of course, the classic one that we've all been kind of bought and sold with the bill of goods, and I think it's the other version, is the version you come up with, right? It is you. You're the dreamer after all, right? And hopefully the manifestor and bringing things to life in reality. So, what does that mean for you? It's almost like when I ask people, "What does success mean to you?" And everybody has kind of a slightly different take on things. I think that's great, right? So, I mean, I would again always go back to, you know, my statement about always trying to live my values and beliefs, you know, congruent with the kind of person who I want to be, and being able to make, again, a difference and a contribution in this life.
Excellent. Last question. What is your biggest fear?
Luckily, I don't have too many. But the biggest one would be probably realizing that at some point, maybe when it's too late, that I didn't take action at some point in my life for something that really mattered the most to me. And that could be anything, right? It's a little bit of the regret kind of statement, right? You know, when things are truly too late, it may be next to impossible to kind of do that.
Mm,
So to be able to take action, to take more action earlier on, I think for me would help minimize that fear.
Nice, excellent. Thank you very much for sharing all that with the audience. Now, this is bonus track, and this is the place where you probably can share a really good book that you believe is uh, probably one of the best that you have read or recommended, or audiobook or podcast or a movie or anything that you would the audience to take a look at.
Sure. There are many.
Okay.
I think the one
Choose
that
one. Choose one.
yeah, I think the one that really shoots to the top of my list, and I like to tell this story about, some of you may know the author Napoleon Hill. And back here in the United States, over 100 years ago, Andrew Carnegie commissioned him to interview successful people of the day, including people like Henry Ford and Carnegie Steel and all kinds of professionals and successful people of the time. His manuscript was eventually published in, I think it was 1928 or so, under the title The Law of Success in 16 Lessons. And he did such a good job with this that some of the own people whom he interviewed were up in arms about it, including, allegedly, Henry Ford. And the big complaint was, you gave them all our secrets. You gave it all away. Like, what were you thinking, kind of thing, right? And so you can imagine Napoleon Hill, I'm like, wait a minute, I thought this is the whole point of the project, right? 7-ish years later, he published a slightly different and edited version of it, the title of which I'm sure many of you recognize, Think and Grow Rich. And that book itself, of course, has been published numerous times and been updated and well known, right? The problem with that, among other things, is that it's now a watered down version of the original first edition manuscript of the title I just cited. So the point here is to always try to, if you can, read first editions, because that's, again, what the author originally intended from his original manuscript, and B, kind of watch what you read anyways. So I definitely would recommend The Law of Success in 16 Lessons by Napoleon Hill.
Excellent. Very good. Do you have any movies or series that you recommend? It can be in any topic. Not really?
I was going to say there are a lot, right? Especially when it comes to TV shows. I mean, oh gosh, there are so many over the years. I mean, I loved the television series 24 with Kiefer Sutherland. USA Network had a series called La Femme Nikita, which was excellent. And then, of course, how could I not mention the X-Files, right?
All right, cool. So we are arriving at the end of the show, and this is the chance, the opportunity for our guests to leave a message to all of the people that is watching, a message that can change people's minds, or an invitation to do something with their lives, as you mentioned, to take action sooner. And probably this is your chance to spread the word, like, what would you say, Eric, to everyone that is going to be watching this or is watching right now? Go
Stop
ahead,
wasting,
please.
stop wasting time. I'm hard on myself in a lot of different areas, including sort of that, and from a productivity standpoint, and trying to make as much contributions as possible, and trying to live your best life. And that, of course, is much easier said than done. And I would encourage everybody to find something that's going to help you. It could be someone who's going to help you. Maybe it's a coach, maybe it's a resource, maybe it's exponential individuals, but find something, right? Because I think the earlier you can consistently bring your A game, the earlier you realize who you are and why you're here and the difference you want to make, and the earlier you can actually start to take action, see results and outcomes, and truly make a difference is where things really start to change for you and for others for the better. So I would highly encourage that and get you to really start living your best life a lot earlier than perhaps you are.
Excellent, excellent, Eric. Um, thank you very much. It has been an hour of this show. Thank you for being here, being part of the Sin Malditas Excusas show, sharing all of your knowledge, inviting people to be part of the projects that you are performing, BostonExO and Exponential Individuals. I know that you are doing a great job, and there's a lot of people supporting you, team members, and the invitation is that if you want, reach out to Eric or go to the web pages of BostonExO and Exponential Individuals to be part of that amazing projects that he's leading. So thank you again, Eric, for your time, and see you soon in another opportunity.
Thanks very much, Rodrigo. Really appreciate it.
Bye bye.